why open platforms tend over time to out-innovate vertically integrated platforms. It's like the same reason that buildings are built out of bricks and are not monolithic structures. Um, I think if you look at just the history of mini computers versus the PCs on LANs based on open networking architectures, it was a classic example of that. If you look at office automation, like where did word processor goes, where did 3270 terminals go? Well, they were all just eaten very, very quickly and by people writing software on top of multi-sourced PCs running open networking protocols. And it was just clearly a much better approach to channel the greatest amount of innovation and energy by the widest number of people. I think we entered this sort of weird territory where, for whatever reason, certain classes of problems were being neglected, or the sort of industry was the sort of open platform people were sort of excluded from tackling certain kinds of problems, and you know, uh, rather than innovation being relentlessly possible because of open platforms. For example, if you look at 3D acceleration, it used to be that there were all sorts of very proprietary, secret graphics hardware architectures, and all of the consoles were using their own special, sprite chips and custom VLSI. And in a relatively short period, they all got swamped by the aggregate capital investment that was going into PC graphics. It wasn't the console guys who basically swept in and built better client hardware than the PCs. It was the ferocious innovation and competition in the PC space that ended up, giving us, the NVIDIAs and ATIs and nowadays the Intel integrated graphics that now are pretty much the cutting edge for graphics hardware, and that's what all the console guys use. So I think the interesting question is, why was it possible for sort of a rational integration of mobile computing into the overall computing environment done by a vertically integrated company? Why was the Wii controller, why did that come out of Nintendo rather than being something that started as a PC peripheral? I sort of have my own personal theories as to why that occurred. I think that what's happening is that the entire PC industry is sort of being put back on its heels, and the internet is going to be put back on its heels because of the huge commercial success that these vertically integrated efforts have. But I don't think the fundamental advantage that open has over those kinds of approaches has been lost. I just think that it may be time for a little creative destruction to go on before the sort of open systems sort of get back to their, to continuing to take advantage of the opportunities that they represent.
And so your recent announcement that you're moving Steam to be available on Linux, is that part and partial to your thoughts with that?
Yeah, so obviously, we've been incredibly successful on Windows-based PCs. The company wouldn't exist without it. You know, Windows XP was awesome. Windows 7 was awesome. Vista was
Everyone knows what Vista was. It's like ME.
Well, I mean, just to be really concrete, with Vista users, our support costs went way up, and the amount of content that people bought went way down, right? So if you look at sort of these really sort of basic consequences of what went into that, it was really clear that, when Vista came out, our favorite customer to have was a Windows XP customer. They were happy, they bought lots of stuff. Customers were not good. They were miserable, they lived in squalor, they called support, they stopped buying software fairly quickly. It was a sad, sort of miserable existence. And then Windows 7 came out and everything was great, and they looked a lot like Windows XP customers. They were way better than console customers for our business. And I'm really, really worried that Windows 8, as Microsoft tries to figure out how to to come up with a strategy for dealing with Apple's resurgence and Microsoft's failure to take market share away from Google and so on, that that they're going to make a set of bets that and have gone down a set of paths that's going to be very bad for the rest of us. And so we're looking at that saying, okay, so what can we do? So we're essentially hedging by saying, well, then rather than sitting around and continuing to be a free rider on all the benefits of, the PC and the internet and so on, we need to make, we're at a point where we should be making more of an investment ourselves. So what does that look like? How can we sort of put our money where our mouth is? And that's, I personally am working on the Linux stuff to try to make sure that playing our games on Linux, playing our partners' games on Linux is a great experience, rather than sort of sitting on the sideline and taking pot shots at what other people are doing. We need to sort of step up a little bit and try to solve some of these problems ourselves. So we'll be getting, Left 4 Dead 2 out on a Steam version of Linux fairly soon. And, then we'll do what we always do. We'll start gathering feedback, iterating, shipping more content, providing tools to our partners so they can take advantage of it, and just seeing how far we can push that and how much value that represents to customers.